What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Coach Steve Show podcast. Today, we're going to talk about, yes, of course, again, Jimmy Garoppolo, but things are starting to happen, reports coming out, and we're going to talk a little bit about the stuff that's going on with Jimmy G, stuff at ESPN, maybe a little bit of that. That's what we're going to talk about today, about where the landing spot for Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be. Is he going to stay with the 49ers? Is he going somewhere else? Is it going to be, New York? Is it going to be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Could it be the Packers? Could it be Denver? People out there looking for a quarterback. So where is he going to end up? We don't know. But we're going to talk about that today on the Coach Steve Show podcast. So make sure before we dive in, you hit the like button and the subscribe button. It helps everything out. Please and thank you. You can listen to the podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts, wherever you are listening to. Rate it, review it, be a friend, tell a friend. All that stuff. If not, please pretend like it never happened. This podcast is also brought to you by the Belly Up Sports Podcast Network. If you head up to bellyupsports.com, check out over the 70 podcasts. All the blogs and everything else. There's a bunch of stuff there for everybody. So go to bellyupsports.com and check out all of that. The podcast is also brought to you by Coach Stone Football, and it's Back to the Basics books and drills. If you go to coachstonefootball.com, all you football coaches are trying to get back to the basics. That's why he titled that. He has so many series. I have in my possession about 7 books of his. His very first one is over 500 pages. There's drills for everybody, all the way from youth, all the way up to and into college, if you want to be that simple. So go to coachstonefootball.com and check out all the books. Thank you, Coach Stone, for sponsoring the podcast. Again, coachstonefootball.com, Back to the Basics book series. And the podcast is also brought to you by Guardian Caps. All you guys out there with your football coaches and your linemen during the season, as we're going to get ready, some of you for spring ball, some of us that will have to wait till the summer, but we want to start thinking about this now. Your big guys in the trenches are probably taking a lot of blows during inside run periods or just everyday drills because, let's face it, it's the best position in football. You get to hit all the time. So, you got to protect those shells and reduce the repetitive blows those guys are taking each and every week. It's Guardian Caps. If you go to guardiansports.com/guardian-caps to check them out, it goes over their helmet. It's supposed to absorb the blow. It's going to absorb and help reduce 20 to 33% of the blow. It is worn by over 5 NFL teams and 200-plus colleges like Oklahoma, Georgia, Alabama, and Penn State. Big-time colleges. So guardiansports.com/guardian-caps. Use the code 15OFF to save 15% off your order, whether it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 100. Doesn't matter. 15 off saves you 50% off because I know some of you guys are fundraising. This is something you have to put into your budget. I understand that. So 15 off or 15% off guardiansports.com/guardian-caps. Let's save those helmets and help those big guys in the trenches because you cannot win without the big guys in the trenches. Thank you, Guardian Sports and Guardian Caps, for sponsoring the podcast. All right. Of course, I have put a lot of episodes out about Jimmy G, and we don't need to discuss why I have a little soft spot for Jimmy G. But let's continue to move forward. He is a quarterback that is going to be on the move. He's already talked about, he said goodbye to the 49ers fans. Now, there is a very, 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 very small chance that he stays with the 49ers. But let's be real. They drafted Trey Lance, and it's going to be one of those things where they're looking at him to the future. Jimmy G has had some not health issues, but had some injury. He's a little bit injury prone the last couple of years. And, that just happens. Sometimes that's what they are. But right now, Jimmy G actually is the only current quarterback in the NFL now that Tom Brady has retired, and that was discussed in the last podcast. episode I did with Zach Kyleman, so we don't need to go too deep into Tom Brady right now. This is about Jimmy G. With him gone and Big Ben gone, Jimmy G is the only current quarterback left with multiple Super Bowl rings. He won 2 with the New England Patriots as a backup. So let that sink in for a little bit. Aaron Rodgers is out there. Patrick Mahomes and all of them, especially like Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers got to be one of the oldest quarterbacks left. He has more Super Bowl rings. Now, obviously, people are going to combat that and say, well, he doesn't start and everything else. That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. He has multiple Super Bowl rings. Okay. That's just a cool stat I have. So he got to see how the Patriots work, goes over to the 49ers, got to see how a different offense works, different organization under Kyle Shanahan, under the great coach Shanahan. And so it's got to learn a bunch of things like that. Teams out there are going to need a quarterback. Jimmy G has come out and said that he wants to be a part of the trading process to go somewhere. He doesn't want to go somewhere. He doesn't want to be a part of rebuilding here. Now, nobody wants that. But he's deserved it, I think, to go to a place that's not going to rebuild. He's proven to be a winner, regardless of what ESPN people think or Fox Sports. See, the big thing is some people have different opinions, and I have my opinion. They have their opinion. That's all great. That's fine. It's cool. That's why America's great. We're going to have our own different opinions. But what people need to start doing is try to stick to them as much as possible, which is difficult to do. I've learned over doing podcasts, especially once you start doing these every day, you're talking sports, it's hard to really keep track of what you're saying all the time. You could say one thing the next day, you could have a different feeling, you could have this different opinion. I do my best to stay consistent. Now, there are times, I might be convinced, especially when we start getting into like a Kobe Bryant talk or the LeBron James talk or anything like that. Try to stay consistent. I said from before that Jimmy G is not, and it's no offense to him, God, if I ever got to talk to him on here. As of right now, I don't see a Hall of Fame quarterback, especially when you look at, he wasn't a starting quarterback for the Super Bowls. We do have to look at numbers with this. I don't see a Hall of Fame quarterback. That doesn't mean that one day, who knows, just takes off, maybe, who knows. But he has to be at least a top 12 to 13 quarterback. I think they have him at like 18, 19. They have some quarterbacks above. Like, I don't trust the quarterback ranking system. They have like Justin Herbert at number 3 and Patrick Mahomes at like 4 or 5. Like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, really? So I don't normally really trust some of the quarterback listings. I don't know how they do the quarterback listings at all. Again, we're going to repeat it a lot. Jimmy G is not a terrible quarterback because it was right after the Patriots or the Packers game. You have people on ESPN and you have people on Fox Sports come on and, I've said a million times and we're going to talk about it again. Jimmy G is the quarterback or the kid in the group that didn't do any work but still received an A. And I hate takes like this, and I hate how he's the worst quarterback left in the playoffs and everything else. Well, one, they're in the playoffs, so he has to be doing something right. Even if the defense carries a team, the quarterback has to do just enough in order to help you win games. Am I wrong or, am I right? Yes or yes? And I'm a Bears fan, so I go back to the time they went to the Super Bowl. Rex Grossman had to do just enough to not lose you the game and do just enough to maintain the offense out there, even though the defense, yes, had to carry. He had to do just enough. In 2018, Mitch Trubisky had to do just enough. And I'm sorry that these ESPN people and these Fox Sports people need a quarterback to throw for 400 yards to be like, oh my gosh, he's so good. Sometimes it takes more than that. And that's why there's a lot of heat between some of these ESPN analysts or, whoever they are and Fox Sports and some other people out there. They've blown it up to a big thing. And I'm not big enough to be a part of it, but I had some words about it, about certain people on there. And, now the big topic is, do you have to play football? Do you have to play basketball to know the sport? Yes and no. You don't have to play football. You don't have to play basketball to figure it out. Now you could learn the basics of it. These analysts that report on it or go talk to people, they can learn some things. From the outside looking in, they can say, the coverage broke down. You could kind of see it, or they're running this. You can kind of see it. So from the outside looking in, as a person that when you don't play football, when you don't play basketball, you'll pick up on some things. I have some friends that they played when they were little and didn't play in high school, but they're really sports smart. They understand the games. They understand how they work. But they'll be the first to tell you they don't understand or won't know the difference between a run, certain plays, what kind of goes into game planning and stuff like that. So there's some of these ESPN analysts that have worked really hard and have come up the ladder and have understood the games and are able to analyze it and talk about it and have conversations and have this job and have this platform. And, some of them only get a 10-minute bite, if that, maybe a 5-minute bite. So they have to say things pretty quickly. So we can't sit here and necessarily judge exactly what they know, but you have to understand when you're on that big platform, you're going to get criticized for some things and you got to be able to take it. I have to take some criticisms, and I'm a person that has like 1% view of what they get, maybe 2%, but that, I don't get I don't get looked at how they get looked at. I don't have a show that what they have. So this Jimmy G thing, I think it's been built up for a little bit, but it was really in that Packers in the playoffs where, he's not a good quarterback. Well, all that guy does is win. And so where we talk about you never have taken a snap or you've never, everything else, and you got like Stephen A saying, well, I never played football and I know the game of football. You understand the basics of football. And understanding the basics of football helps you have a job at ESPN and be good at it. And I understand you have this little show on Disney, and that allows you to do that so you understand football. But I think what people are trying to tell you, and where they take this personally and they want to defend people and really not look at the overall reason as to why these statements were made, you don't understand game planning of football. Now, I'm sitting here saying I'm a high school coach. I've never been a college coach. I'll never be a college coach. I'll never be an NFL coach. But I have a little basic understanding of game planning. I have a basic understanding of how to study film. Not quite like these guys, but I can look at a play and say, hey, that's inside zone, or that's, hey, yeah, that's a form of power. That's a form of counter. Now, I think that's where some people are coming from. Now, there's some people on ESPN that understand that. But where we are all talking about this is you say that Jimmy G is not a good quarterback, and he is a good quarterback. And I guess it depends on the person and your expectations. It understands, we all have different views. If we go to me and my Kobe and LeBron talk, everybody's gonna have a different viewpoint of it. I could watch a Kobe Bryant play and say this was a play that was really, really good. This is, one of the best. And somebody could look at it and say, well, no, this or that. So these people at ESPN, and we don't want to go into names, and they say, he's not good. But when you look at stats, don't you get more recognized for winning? So I don't think anybody's trying to sit here and say Jimmy G is Tom Brady, he's Peyton Manning, he's whatever. He is just a quarterback that's not going to lose you the game. Well, then, he flips the ball out the end of the game, hits the guy in the hand, pops up, and gets intercepted. So as a part of Jimmy G, yes, he was trying to do too much. He even said that. He's like, I was just trying to do way too much. They hit the guy in the hand, so he should have caught it. And that's where my argument about it comes in. But up until then, he was doing pretty good in that game. At least I think so. He was 16 of 30, 232 yards, compared to when he was at Green Bay, he was 11 for 19, 131 yards. So right there, he completed more passes. Now, he was forced to take more passes, but he had 2 touchdowns. And then they were up 17-7, so they blamed Jimmy G for losing. But my argument is, well, what about play calling? Kyle Shanahan has to take some of the heat. What about the defense giving up the points? I mean, come on. Like, if you want to look at this year, he's had a game of 314 yards. He's had a game of 322, 326, 299, 296. So, I mean, what are we talking about here? Like, he can throw the ball, but at the same time, it's a team game too. So when they sit there, and I hate that, that's why these ESPN people, well, you have to look at the whole team. So the quarterback, if he only throws for 176 yards and 2 touchdowns like he did, and they win the game, cool. But there's also games that he could come out there and ball out and throw 2 touchdowns and throw for 300 and some yards, and they could lose the game. So that's why I think people try to say you don't know football, and I don't think I take that with a grain of salt. Some of these people do know football, but some have to understand when you talk about this and you say these things, you have to go back and look at it. That's where you understand game plan about the offense or the defense. So the thing with Jimmy G, at least with the 49ers, now with the Patriots, did a little bit different things. But with the 49ers, they realized, hey, if we run the football more, we're winning. When we're throwing it all over the place, Jimmy G still throwing 2 touchdown passes, and we have 300 some yards, but we're losing. Okay. But then why is another reason why we lost? The defense did this or that, or whatever the case might be. That's what we have to look at. And that's why some of these analysts, and that's why people are saying you don't understand football, but they should be more specific, I think, when they say you don't understand football. And again, I'm not saying I know everything at all. There are tons of coaches that I am friends with that know way more football and have forgotten more football than I'm ever going to know. But when you listen to some of these people and they make all this money and then they flip flop on some things they say, and then they're on this platform and then they really push to not like a person, which are all right to their opinion, but when they flip all that stuff. So the thing with Jimmy G, I think it's undeniable that he is a good quarterback. I'm not saying great, which he can be great. There are glimpses of him being great. I just think he's a quarterback that's going to not really lose you games. And he's a quarterback that's been around now and he can manage the game. He can pick up on offenses pretty quick if he stays healthy. So that's a little bit into what this thing with Jimmy G has been going on, and this saying these things about these analysts and say, and I don't care who you are or whatever. You have to be consistent with what you say and have a backup reason as to why. So if you come on and say, well, Jimmy G doesn't seem to be playing well or not to be a good quarterback, and say, okay, well, he threw for 100 yards and he had 3 or 4 interceptions. And then the next game, this, and he's just overthrowing people all the time and this and that. Jimmy G's a lot better than quarterbacks that started this year. If we want to look at numbers and be statistical about it. And when you look at all that stuff, so you have to be consistent of why is he not good? Why is he not this? So we have to understand and look at it and be consistent with it. I'm saying he's just a good quarterback. A lot of teams could have used that. Jacksonville, I know they had the number 1 overall pick. Probably would want him on their team. Probably Detroit because Goff, look at their record. Maybe they want Jimmy G because all he does is win. The Jets, even though they have these picks. I can go on. The Giants, my God, there's a quarterback problem there. I even, we'll get to this team. I might say this team again. He played better than Carson Wentz, I think, this year. So we could go on and on about some of these quarterbacks that did not play well this year or last and talk about, he did better. So what are we talking about here? All he does is win. Well, then the argument becomes, well, look at the roster around him. And I hate that argument because I could say that for a lot of quarterbacks. Hell, Aaron Rodgers, I think he played better than Tom Brady this year. One of the best probably the best quarterback in the league this year in Aaron Rodgers. I know he got booted out by Jimmy G and the 49ers. Look at the weapons he had around him. Look at Tom Brady and the weapons he had around him. So you can make this argument all the time. Look at the old Peyton Manning teams. Look at all of that going around there. So we had those arguments they make. And again, I don't blame some of them. On podcasts, they could probably be a lot better just explaining this. But when they hop on shows and they've got maybe 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, they can't. Now, when they have an hour-long show, they could talk about it a little bit, but they have a lot of topics they want to get through. Like for me and podcasters, we could sit here and have 10, 20, and sit here and do it all. Now you're going to get an hour and a half podcast, you're going to get a 2-hour podcast, but at least thoughts are going to get flowing. But anyway, that's part of the whole Jimmy G fiasco, not the whole thing. That's just bits, pieces of it. I'll sit here and defend Jimmy G that he has to be somewhere between, I want to say maybe number 10, but I will go down, and not argue with people and try to agree and say, okay, probably 11 to 15. He's got to be at least above top 15 quarterbacks in the league. There's some that are better, playing better, but it depends on what team you are, where you're like, if you go listen to my previous episode with Zach Collin, we talked about the Bears, and then we also discussed Jimmy G a little bit. Right now, we still probably take Jimmy G. Now, when we signed Andy Dalton, he asked, he goes, who would you rather have, Andy Dalton or Jimmy G? We both agreed Jimmy G. Like, the Bears would probably rather have him. Now, I know they got Justin Fields, and I'm not high on Justin Fields. We'll see what happens. Part of me is I still get Jimmy G. He's a good play action quarterback. He can roll out and make some throws. There's some throws he doesn't make, but he's going to make good short throws. Intermediate passes, that's his game. And if he's on a team like the Bears and you have two good running backs and you get a decent play caller in there, which I think the new offense coordinator for the Bears would be, I'm not saying he's going to the Bears. I'm saying when you get something like that around him, it's going to be pretty good. And, Kyle Shanahan didn't make the right adjustments, but you also, I think these analysts, excuse me, don't understand. A coach and a play caller, if they're good enough, are going to make that offense go around the people they have. And a lot of the guys in the NFL won't do that. For example, Bears fan, Matt Nagy. Matt Nagy came in and had Mitch Trubisky in that first year, kind of did things that were going to fit, Mitch Trubisky. And then the next year, whether they go 12-4, whatever it was. Oh, the next year, then he goes, well, I want to make him more of a pocket quarterback because that's what Andy Reid was doing, even though Andy Reid and them are getting Patrick Mahomes to move and do things. But he's like, I want a pocket quarterback. So we're going to make Mitch Trubisky do that. And then look what happens. And then it goes all downhill. And then he finally gets like an Andy Dalton to do that. Then he was trying to do the same thing that Justin Fields, trying to make him a pocket quarterback. That guy has to run. That guy has to move. So now it's going to be where Jimmy G ends up. Now, there's plenty of teams. Maybe not plenty. They're in position to maybe get him and now he's trying to have a say in it. I don't know how much of a say. If he has a good relationship with the 49ers, which I think he does, he's going to try to get his say. One thing I saw today, and that's what made me, want to talk about this, Jimmy G to the Buccaneers. Like, is Jimmy G really going to go to the Buccaneers? Well, it's possible. I mean, there is an article that, maybe they're in a position. Now, of course, we know Tom Brady's retired. Now, they drafted Trask from Florida, but is he going to be ready? So right now, the Buccaneers are going to have different salary cap things. Tom Brady being gone, I don't think he's getting paid all that much. But looking at the article, one of it is the bridge option appears to be Jimmy G, and we could read this article, and right now they're saying there's 3 different teams out there that might be interested. Buccaneers, Pittsburgh Steelers, which may not be a bad spot either to go to the Steelers, and the Denver Broncos. And they said they're expected to make a strong push to trade for Jimmy Garoppolo. May not be an ideal scenario, but it's a stopgap option at quarterback. And again, there's way worse options out there, so you got to look at the draft. Are you going to draft somebody like that? Are you able to trade for somebody like that? Now, if you can get Aaron Rodgers, obviously you're going to take Aaron Rodgers over Jimmy G, because Aaron Rodgers, if he wants to, could play a couple more years, but it depends. Is he going to have a Tom Brady thing? Is he going to retire? Is he only going to play 2 more years? Everything like that. According to this article, now it's on fan-sided, so it's whatever. Yes, Garoppolo, they say he's limited. I think he's a good quarterback. However, he's a winner. While he was at San Francisco with Kyle Shanahan, he's 35-16. That's pretty good, and that's where these ESPN people, you realize he's 35-16. Okay. When they have anybody else from Shanahan and the 49ers, they were 8-29 because when he was hurt, they went 4-12. Then he was hurt a little bit again, they lose. So they're 8-28 when he's not the quarterback. People think he's holding back the offense. I don't think so. With a record like that, maybe there's a quarterback to get him over the edge. I don't know. Again, injury prone and stuff like that, that's going to be a thing that hurts him. But right now, it looks like maybe he could go to the Bucs. As far as price goes, the AFC personnel director of a team, not in the quarterback market, says the condition of anonymity to speak freely about another team. I like to think the Niners could realistically get a second-round pick plus at least a player, but I do think his market could expand once teams get one look at this year's quarterback class. He's probably better than anyone from this class or 2023. If they're going to try to get a first-rounder, good luck. They aren't getting close to that for a bridge quarterback, which is what he is. Now, I don't know about what that means by bridge quarterback. Like, is he just going to hold things together? I really hope he goes somewhere and they just, get to the Super Bowl and he gets a Super Bowl on his own as a starter to prove some of these guys wrong. But right here, they asked somebody and they said he's a good win-loss record, but he's not dynamic. Again, somebody right here said he's Matt Hasselbeck. He's smart. He's going to do the right stuff, but his talented arm, he has good things there. Sorry, Spencer Jarvis. I'm live on Colorcast as we speak, but I'm also recording this podcast. I didn't glance at it. He thinks Aaron Rodgers to the Bucs fits this play style better than Jimmy G. Oh, of course, I think wherever Aaron Rodgers goes, I think if you have the choice between Aaron Rodgers and Jimmy G, you're going to take Aaron Rodgers. I absolutely agree. That's a part of it. I want to do a whole podcast episode on where Aaron Rodgers goes. But yes, I said that. I said, what about Aaron Rodgers to the Bucs? But I think Aaron Rodgers, could talk about later. He might go to the the Broncos. Isn't it weird, real quick, how guys at the tail ends of their career go to the Broncos? It's weird. Like Peyton Manning did it, and other people do it. Like, isn't that weird? It's very strange. If Brady would have won a Super Bowl, then Rodgers wouldn't follow up with that. He can take them to the playoffs. At least, yeah. I think if you put Aaron Rodgers on the Bucs and they're able to keep that offensive line around and some of those guys around, they can figure out the salary cap, which they've got a salary cap guru down there with the Bucs. I think if Aaron Rodgers shows up, I mean, yes, I agree. They get to the playoffs and they could probably win a Super Bowl. Yes. The unvaccinated state of Florida got to be a target for Rodgers. Yeah, I think Rodgers is looking at Broncos. It's got to be Packers, Steelers, Bucs, Broncos for Aaron Rodgers. But I'll get to something here about Aaron Rodgers too in a second. Back to Jimmy G. I don't know. So let's just throw Aaron Rodgers out of there for right now. Let's just say Aaron Rodgers is going to stay with the Packers. I think he'd be good on the Bucs because you'll have a quarterback used to play in the NFL as your offensive coordinator. You'll have Bruce Arians that's dealt with guys that are good. Carson Palmer would probably be better than Jimmy G, but a quarterback that could win games, kind of get there, try to win a Super Bowl. And he did well with them at Arizona Cardinals and stuff. So I think getting him to a Bruce Arians who has coached Peyton Manning, who has coached Ben Roethlisberger, now then coach Carson Palmer, and then he's got to, I know he had an established Tom Brady, but to get Bruce Arians' hands on Jimmy G could help. Leftwich could help at that offensive coordinator spot. He would have a decent team around him if they can figure out the salary cap. That conference is taking a nosedive. So now he'll be in a situation where he's not playing the Seahawks and the Rams and the Cardinals and stuff like that. Now he's going to play like a deflated Saints team. He's going to have the Atlanta Falcons around there. He's going to have this. He's going to have teams like that. He'll have to contend in that conference. And I think Jimmy G would be in a good spot. And he likes to play in warm places. I mean, I know New England wasn't. But I think him going to the Bucs is actually a good move for them. I think he would have a fun time there. I think they could do some good things. And nothing against Kyle Shanahan, but to have a Bruce Arians that has done this time and time again with quarterbacks, to have a quarterback that understands the league and understand this there to help him with the Bucs, I think it's a good move for the Buccaneers to get. Now, back to, what was said, if Aaron Rodgers has any interest in going to the Buccaneers, you're going to take Aaron Rodgers. And that's no offense to Jimmy G. Now I think him to the Bucs is not outside the question. You have Godwin, you have Evans. Now Rob Gronkowski has not come out yet. I think he'll retire. He only wants to play for Tom Brady. Now, could he possibly stay of Jimmy G because they were on the same team with the Patriots? I don't think so. I think Gronk will retire. He says he only wants to play for Brady. But if, we're just, that's why it's great about this. We can play the what if game. If Jimmy G stays and Gronk stays, now you got Gronk, you got Evans, you got Godwin, you've got the running backs, you got an upgraded offensive line than the Bucs had before. And they can make some moves and upgrade the defense. And then Jimmy G with Bruce Arians, I think could do something. I think they would adjust the game for some intermediate pass game for him. And I think they'd be an immediate contender. I mean, he's gotten to the playoffs with the 49ers. Why could he not get to the playoffs with the 49ers or with the Buccaneers like he did with the 49ers? And he'd have a good coach in Bruce Arians too. So I think him going to the Bucs is a good move. Now, where else could he go? Now, that was kind of shocking. I was thinking other teams. Now, what's another thing that could happen? Well, last year, even though it was never 100% confirmed with Aaron Rodgers is from California, I believe. And it kept being reported about him going to the 49ers. So could Jimmy G and Aaron Rodgers just do the old flip-flop? Again, if Aaron Rodgers wants to go to the Bucs are going to take Aaron Rodgers. I think Jimmy G to the Bucs is a good move. But could Jimmy G could they just flip-flop? Because what if Aaron Rodgers wants to go to the 49ers? He's from California. I can't remember if he grew up a 49ers fan. I think that's what it was. What if he just goes there? Well, then the Packers need a quarterback now. Oh, they've got Jordan Love. I'm not sold on him either. I know he played well this year the time he started, but you've got to be sitting there as Packers. Let's say Aaron Rodgers decides, hey, I want to go to the 49ers. I like Kyle Shanahan's offense. That defense, they've got some guys on defense. Offense, if Jimmy G is able to do that with the 49ers, I should be able to do that as well. Jimmy G's insufferable. Why is he insufferable? Like, what's the reason why he's insufferable? Don't be pulling the ESPN Fox Sports analysts that say that he is the kid that shows up and gets an A for not doing anything. All that guy does is show up, and he's able to hold down an offense and mainly not lose you the game. That's all you want in an offense. I don't know why he's insufferable. I'm not saying he's an elite quarterback. I'm not saying he's a Hall of Fame quarterback. I'm not saying any of that. But don't be this ESPN Fox Sports person and just talk about Jimmy G with nothing to back it up with. Let's not do that. Okay. Now I understand we all have different opinions. We all see things a little differently, and that's what makes life great and makes sports great. We're going to see everything, and that's why debates are debates. But come on, we need something. Like, why is he insufferable? He's a good quarterback. I did see his performance in the playoffs, and I already talked about it. Against the Packers game, I understand that one. But what about the Rams? He looked pretty good to me up until the end when they started to adjust on defense, and then Kyle Shanahan did not adjust on offense. And then Jimmy G even came out and said that, when the time came, he was trying to do too much. And I don't want to hear about the flip to the, he was running out of the pocket and flipped it. It hit the guy in the hands. Catch it. Now, should he have flipped it? No, he was just trying to do too much. He wants to win. He won his last 2 years at EIU that I got to see in person. He learned how to win with New England. Then he came over, and all they do is win when he's on the 49ers. Like I said earlier, when they don't have him, they're 8-28. They are 8-28 without him. When he got hurt, what was it, a year or two ago, they went 4-12. Then he got hurt a little bit again this year, and they didn't win games until he came back. Played with a torn muscle or whatever in his throwing thumb. Had a knee issue and had an ankle issue, and he said, screw it, I'm going to go play. I mean, he threw for 232 yards, just like DJ Khaled. All I do is win. That's all the guy does. But again, you have to understand, we're in a world now where we have fallen in love with, he's got to throw for 400 yards, and he's got to throw for 4 touchdowns. We've been fallen in love with the Patrick Mahomes numbers. where he has that team is unfair. Debo was crying not because they lost, because why? Is that a factual thing? Don't say things just to say things. Is that factual? Is that factual? He's crying because Jimmy G's a quarterback? Why? He's gotten to the Super Bowl. You were in the NFC Championship game. That defense, again, it was 17-7, and people want to blame the offense, which I mean, the offense need to take some blame. What about the defense not stopping the Rams? What about that? What happened to that? Why don't they get any of the blame? See, that's why I hate this. Let's blame the quarterback. Well, you're up 17-7, and then Kyle Shanahan took the foot off the gas like Oklahoma did to Georgia years ago in the playoffs. So that's why some of this is just said to be heard, and there's no factual stuff behind it. That's why I defend Jimmy G. And again, these people in Colorcast, you weren't here when I said this. I went to school with Jimmy G. I helped out the football team at AIU during spring ball. I got to see it up close in person. So some of this, yes, is closer to me than others. And I'm friends with people in the state that went to school with him. So it's a little bit closer. So I've seen Jimmy G up close. I've talked to Jimmy G. Okay. When Dino Babers was the head coach at EIU, when he came up to Baylor. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, this is not an argument. It's not an argument by any means. Yeah. So that's why I look at it a little differently. Like, okay, this is what he did at EIU, especially his senior year. Senior year, threw for over 5,000 some yards and got EIU to the playoffs for the first time in years and won the conference 2 years in a row. Like that dude, his junior year threw for like 3,700 yards. Next year, almost threw for 6,000 yards. Like the dude can play. And I know the NFL is different than one AA college, but anyway, there's my little tangent there. He was crying because he put his blood, sweat, and tears in the game and not injured, but came back into the game and gave it his all. That's why Debo was crying. Yeah. See, again, saying always crying because Jimmy G's the quarterback and he's garbage. There's no factual things of why you're saying that. All the guy does is win. Okay. I'm not talking about Super Bowls. That's Tom Brady. Let's not get it twisted. Tom Brady, all he does is win Super Bowls. All Jimmy G does is help you be in a position to win a game. Why doesn't the defense get hurt? But anyway, I want to get back to the real quick. I don't know if the 49ers is on Aaron Rodgers' list, but if it was, to send Aaron Rodgers over to the 49ers, would the Packers then say, well, we need a quarterback? What quarterbacks are out there now? They did draft Love, but in my opinion, if you're looking at it going, okay, we have Love, but he's not established, and Jimmy G's out there. What if we get Jimmy G, but we're trading Aaron Rodgers? So we want to get Jimmy G and then a player or two to send over there. Could we see a flip-flop and send Jimmy G over to the Packers and get him up to the north? I would love to see him on the Bears. I'd rather him be playing right now over Justin Fields, but I think it's a little too late for that. I'd like to see him with the Bears. Hometown, that was the team he rooted for. He grew up, 35, 40 minutes away from the city. Send him back home down the Bears. But I would like to see that flip-flop. That'd be a good fit for Jimmy G, I think, to go to the Packers. Jimmy G to the Dolphins is another one. The Dolphins is a weird place. I know they're talking about quarterbacks. They have Tua, which played well. And now I'm not, we've seen what has happened with the Dolphins and Coach Flores and what's going on in the media. I want to take a step back and see what happens there. That one, I don't know if Jimmy G wants to touch what's happening there. Tua is injury prone, yes. So that's weird. That's a weird situation with the Dolphins. I don't know. Are the Dolphins set up to win? Because Jimmy G doesn't want to go to a place that's rebuilding. He's not that point in his career where he's like, I can afford to be in a place that's rebuilding. He wants to go to a place that wants to win. I don't know if the Dolphins are set up to win. So he's going to look at and say, okay, the Bucs, if they do the old flip-flop with the Packers, I wouldn't throw the Steelers out there. I know the Steelers are probably going to look at it. They're going to look at the draft and say, can we get someone in the draft? Is there some type of trade we can make with the team? Well, if you're going to make a trade with the team, why not Jimmy G? You want to talk about the Steelers who predicate on the run game. They had a young offensive line. They predicate themselves on the run game. Well, that run game would help Jimmy G. Pretty good play action quarterback, pretty good at short intermediate passes, and then he could hit a couple deep ones. I think the Steelers could be a really good spot for Jimmy G with the run game they have, with the type of defense they have there. Now, it's going to be tough. That's a tough thing. You have to play the Baltimore Ravens. You have to play the Browns. You got the Bengals now and Joe Burrow. Now you're going to be in the AFC where you've got to deal with Patrick Mahomes. You got to deal with Baker Mayfield. You've got to deal with Um, all those type of quarterbacks. You got to deal with the Buffalo Bills. You got to deal with all that now in the AFC. So does he want to stay in the NFC? So I think Buccaneers are a good spot for him. If Aaron Rodgers wants to go to the 49ers and you do the old flip-flop and he goes to the Packers, I think so because he would like to play in the NFC North. I know you have to play like a good Bears defense, but you have to play the Lions and the Vikings. So I think he could go there. Another team real quick, another team I think needs to be put on the table that he could go to that needs a better quarterback is the Colts because Carson Wentz is a big-time bust. I know he had probably 2 or 3 good years on the Eagles, but by God, and he did some good things with the Colts, but by God, the Colts are a quarterback away last year from doing something. And Jimmy G's has been playing better than Carson Wentz. So I know the Colts might be tied up in money stuff, especially with Carson Wentz, but if they could figure it out and get Jimmy G to the Colts, I think then the Colts could do something if they had Jimmy G. I think Jimmy G's spot's got to be the Bucs, and then the old Packers, and then it's got to be the Steelers and the Colts. The Colts have to be thrown in there. The Colts are a long shot because of what they traded for him, for Carson Wentz. I'll tell you, the Vikings could be a dark horse, maybe, but don't they have a lot of money tied up into Kirk Cousins unless they do just a straight up trade? And then maybe could they want Kirk Cousins with the Vikings? That would be interesting to send him over to the Vikings. But they got to get a head coach. Now, if they get Jim Harbaugh, maybe if the Vikings get Jim Harbaugh, Kirk's not the guy. Kirk Cousins, he and Jimmy G are probably very similar, but Kirk Cousins too many times has given up a big game. Didn't he not win a Monday Night Football game till last year or something? Yeah, Kirk Cousins is a decent quarterback, can do good things, but he's not the guy. I don't think. Yes, Jimmy G's a leader, and that's what was good about Jimmy G going to the Patriots. He got to learn how to be a leader from Tom Brady. He got to learn from Bill Belichick and those guys and Gronk. So that really helped him. And I agree with you. Jimmy G's a better leader. I do agree with that. Who's your team? The Patriots. Man, I have a Patriots book, that Belichick and Brady book. I've never read it. It's on my shelf to read. I have like 25 books I have to read. Maybe it's time now that Tom Brady's gone that I have to read that. Or maybe not because Belichick's in the news with the text messages, but I digress. Maybe it's time I read that. But Jimmy G did learn from that. Honestly, if the Patriots did not just draft Mac Jones, I would love to put the Patriots on the list for Jimmy G to go to. That would be a great thing for him to go back. But now with Josh McDaniels gone, maybe not. But before that happened, before he went off to the Raiders, I said maybe Jimmy G goes back home to the Patriots. I would love to see that. But with having Mac Jones there, I don't think they're going to get rid of him because they're looking at the future. Jimmy G's got a few years left. Mac Jones has got way more years left. And then who knows how long Bill Belichick has left. So I just think realistically, the Bucs, Packers only if Aaron Rodgers wants to go to the 49ers. Broncos are a good destination, but I'm kind of thinking that Aaron Rodgers is going to, for Aaron Rodgers, it's Packers, Bucs, Broncos only because his offensive coordinator went to the Broncos. So that's where he could go there. But for Jimmy G, it's got to be, and I think Steelers and Colts. No, Colts only if they can get out of their money thing with Carson Wentz, because Carson Wentz is one of the biggest busts we've probably ever seen. But it is very realistic that Jimmy G goes to the Buccaneers, and I think that's a good situation. And again, I'm repeating myself, with Bruce Arians, you have an old NFL quarterback as your offensive play caller, the weapons that would be there. They've got a salary cap guru down there that could get it open and get it done. I think that's a great possibility. And then I think the Steelers would be a great spot for him with some of the guys they have there. That run game and the defense would be great. Colts, they're a quarterback away from doing something good. And if you say the Vikings are a dark horse, that would not be a bad spot either for him. Not a bad spot either. You got to look at those conferences and stuff. Broncos, maybe, but I'd put all those other teams above the Broncos. So this has been my episode of defending Jimmy G and trying to see where he goes. I saw the report for the Buccaneers, and I was like, I got to talk about it in the spots he's going to go to. Maybe like a 1% chance he stays with the 49ers, but it seems like they want to move on. But he's not a terrible quarterback again. He's not this horrible quarterback. I think he's anywhere from 10 to 13 quarterback ranking if you want to put him there. I don't trust quarterback rankings because, like I said earlier, they have Justin Herbert at number 2 or 3. I don't know why. He's a good quarterback, but why? Why is he above Patrick Mahomes? Why is he above Josh Allen? Like, it just didn't make sense. So I don't trust those. They have Jimmy G at like 18. I'm like, why? Like, are there really 17 quarterbacks better than him? There's, probably, again, if they're in the right situation, there's got to be 6 to 10 teams that would want Jimmy G. It just depends on, did they already draft a quarterback and they're young and all that stuff. So Jimmy G to the Bucs is very, 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 very possible. I think him going to the Steelers is very, very, very possible. So it just all depends on that. It just depends. I think the Buccaneers, he'd have all the weapons he wants. Steelers, the run game would really, really help him. If he goes to the Packers, only because Aaron Rodgers wants to go, I would love to see him go back to the Patriots, but I don't think it's going to happen. But again, Jimmy G, good quarterback. Jimmy G is not going to the CFL. Get out of here. I've already gone at it with somebody with Titans. I mean, aren't they wrapped up in Tannehill? And that was another thing. People said Tannehill was way better than Jimmy G. They're like the same person. I don't understand it. I think Jimmy G is better. Titans, I mean, if you want to throw that in there and say it's the Titans, I'm all for that. That'd be another great situation to go to the Titans. But I have to look at, like, are they really going to move on from Ryan Tannehill? Don't they have money tied up in him? Then it has to come down to, are they trading straight up quarterbacks? Do the 49ers want Ryan Tannehill? So there's just a lot of things that we have to look at. And then he's not going to go somewhere and not start. So are they going to trade things for him to send him to the Titans? And he's got to sit behind Ryan Tannehill. He want to go somewhere where he's going to play. I agree with you. Titans would be a great spot for him. I'm just trying to think of teams where it could realistically go to. That comment, Jimmy G to the CFL, some people just want to talk to be heard. Like, I don't understand that. Like, Jimmy G, what? Get out of here. Some of these people just need to go. But anyway, that wraps this up. Just Jimmy G thoughts. I defend him at the very beginning of the show. Again, thanks everybody so much for listening. This is, I like talking this. Again, go check out Colorcast. It's only for Apple. I think it's going to be moved to, for Android stuff later on. Like and subscribe to the Coach Steve Show YouTube channel. The podcast can be found anywhere you listen to your podcast. So go follow it, rate it, and all that stuff. Thank you so much. It helps out the algorithm that I don't understand how the algorithm works. That's above my head. Check out all the other episodes. There's been a couple other episodes on Jimmy G I've already done. I should just get a Jimmy G jersey at this point, wherever he goes. But thank you guys so much for listening. Again, go check out Coach Steve Show podcast and all that stuff. Thanks so much for listening. This has been another episode of the Coach Steve Show podcast. And just like Jimmy G, we are flying out of here.
Mm-hmm.